Welcome to your initial 101 training on the ZoomInfo powered by DiscoverOrg platform. My name is Joy, and I'm a Senior Manager Learning Development here at ZoomInfo. Today, I'll be walking you through the more basic and commonly used features of the platform. As we go through this demo together, keep in mind there are many different packages of the ZoomInfo platform, so please don't be concerned if there's something we covered today that you do not see when you log into your own account. If you would like to have a conversation about adding features or functionality to your account, please reach out to your onboarding manager or account manager. This is the dashboard. This is the landing page when you first log in, and all versions of ZoomInfo will have a similar layout. Here in the upper left-hand corner, you can see my recently saved searches. As I build and save searches, my most recently saved will always be at the top. I do have the ability to access all of my saved searches by clicking on all saved searches, and hitting build a list will actually throw me into advanced search so I can start building a search from scratch. Down here, I have my recently viewed contacts and companies, but depending on the version of ZoomInfo you're on, that may actually be on the right-hand side. These are exactly that. These are recently viewed contact or company profiles, so I can jump straight into where I left off. Here in the center, this feed, I do have the ability to manage it. Here I can indicate industries, locations, company sizes of companies I typically like to target. Any sort of technologies that are of interest to me, or even here, intent signals to potential projects, purchases that I can help solve. I can set up the alert frequency, getting alerted to things going on with these types of companies. If I save my preferences, and here I'd be able to filter certain information. So for me, you can see I have it set to funding information. So all of those companies I indicated that I have an interest in, here I'm seeing all of the ones who've recently received funding. I have the ability to immediately take action by going to the CEO or creating a search of additional decision makers at these companies. I can even populate a search of companies that these organizations have also invested in. Over here, I can search intent signals, and had I selected technology signals, I'd be able to see the companies that I'm interested in that have added and dropped those types of technologies. I want to highlight support and some of the other resources available to you in the upper right-hand corner under your initials. ZoomInfo University is a wonderful resource. I absolutely recommend checking it out. You can register for live sessions. We have these on-demand courses, best practices to include playbooks and blog articles put together by our executive leadership in sales and marketing. We also offer certifications on our platform. We have 4 different certifications. So regardless of your role, there'll be a certification for you. So you know that you're getting the most out of the platform and can be an internal resource for your team. Coming into the Knowledge Center, this is going to be quick 2-minute videos around our feature functionality. You can learn more about our integrations, access release notes. But one thing I do want to point out is that we do have a mobile app. Here in the upper right-hand corner, you'd be able to go straight to the article by quick searching it. You can see 3-minute video with some use cases here, but do know we have a mobile application available. Also, under your initials in the upper right-hand corner is your access to our support team. They're online for live chat right now. You can chat with them directly in the platform, call them, or this contact form. They'll actually email or call you back depending on your preference. Just let them know what you're working on and a little blurb about what you're running into. And again, they'll reach out to you by your preferred contact method up here. With that being said, I wanted to go straight to a company profile by using our quick search in the upper left-hand corner. This is going to follow you around the platform. This is like a Google bar overhauled. Here you can see contacts at companies I've been to recently, recent searches, recommendations. You actually won't have any recommendations at first. This is based off of AI, companies and people that you typically go to. And over here on the right, you can see my saved searches. Here, I have the ability to go straight to a person. Maybe I've already been talking to somebody and I want to see where they sit in the org chart. You can go straight to a person or a company. So here, is that the person I even want to be talking to? Or maybe you're in the middle of an opportunity and you want to get additional points of contact, or you're preparing for a phone call and you want to see what ZoomInfo has on that organization. Again, you'll have a short list of potential matches for both contacts as well as companies. Want to go through the company layout page just so we can see where all the information is. All of our companies have a similar layout, so it doesn't matter what company you're looking at. You'll know exactly where to look for certain pieces of information. Keeping in mind too, this is all search criteria. So when we jump into advanced search, we'll have a better idea of what's kind of at our fingertips to really leverage. This is where the information's coming from. So if I'm preparing for a phone call, right off the bat, I can see where they're headquartered, their industry, their size, and if I hover over that, I get a more exact amount, their revenue. Maybe it's not Nike. Maybe it's a company I'm not familiar with. I'd be able to go straight to their website or even social to do some research. And you're always going to land on the Overview tab. Clicking Read More here, all of our companies have a company description. Here, you'd actually be able to search for words or phrases directly within the company description when you're building a search, so you can definitely get that granular. Clicking on this will actually throw you into the Financials tab, so you can see the different rounds of funding, amount, by who. You can even see department budgets. Do they even have the budget for your solution? Here you'll also see similar companies. Hitting Show More will actually throw you into the Similar Companies tab, so you can see more than just those initial three. The idea here being, if you're having success with Nike, here's a short list of companies you may also potentially have success with. Also, if you're reaching out to Nike, to be able to name drop some of the organizations within their competitive landscape that you've worked with and assisted is definitely going to be beneficial. Down here, you're going to see a map. You can actually toggle between US or world, but you have the ability to populate a search based off of where contacts are located. So Nike is headquartered in Oregon. I can populate a search of the folks that are working out of Oregon, or I could come over here and say, you know what, show me the 173 employees that work out of the Texas offices. Here in the center, this is the intelligence feed. Hitting Show More News, Show More Scoops, Show More Signals will just throw me into those appropriate tabs up top here. Here, top contacts, yours will actually say top executives by default. So you will see the C-suite, but if there's certain personas that you typically go after, you have the ability to click this gear icon. You can search directly within titles for certain words or phrases, management levels. You can even come over here. We have what we call department job functions. Our org charts are broken out by these. These go beyond the title. These look at people's roles, responsibilities. So maybe they don't have a word or phrase directly within their title, but at the end of the day, you know they have that responsibility and you're getting the management levels that you are interested in. When you hit apply, we'll show you those types of people. And this is sticky, so as you go from company to company, you'll always see these types of folks. Hitting show more contacts will actually populate a search of all of these types of contacts that we profile for Nike. Coming down here, you can toggle between your views here, attributes, industry tags, company codes, even products and services. So here, these chips are clickable. You can actually populate a search of other companies that are tagged with those product services or even these industries. And if you like SIC and NICS codes, having the ability to see what SIC and NICS codes this company is tied to, knowing that that's going to be search criteria for you as well. Coming into the Employees tab, here you can populate a search of the top contacts that we profile for Nike, and we have a little information about what that entails. All versions of ZoomInfo will also have this breakdown by management level. I can actually populate a search of the 316 VPs that work at Nike and layer on contact information, department information. Here I do have a breakdown by department. Same behavior. I can populate a search of the 3,400 operations contacts and layer on additional criteria in terms of management level and contact information. Over here on the right, you can see the top level execs. I can go straight to their profile, export them, tag them. We'll talk more about tags here in a little bit. Or I can even click into the space to reveal his contact information and grab his email address. Coming into the org chart, this is going to give you the ability to see across the organization, different departments, and how individuals roll up to one another. Coming into the IT department, I mentioned earlier that our org charts are broken out by department job function. What I mean by that is out of the entire IT department, here are the information security related contacts. And you can see that we delineate management level by color and indentation. If you don't sell to information security, you can actually collapse that. You You can go straight to general IT, infrastructure, enterprise architecture. Once you get to the roles personas that you're interested in, you can actually select these checkboxes on the left. The blue export button will light up over here in the upper right-hand corner, and I have the ability to push these folks over as leads or contacts directly into one of my systems here. I can even export to Excel if I don't have an integration. That would be a whole Excel doc with just these 3 rows, but you do have the ability to tag from here. I mentioned tagging briefly a moment ago. Tagging is like creating a folder. It's like creating your own list. So if I'm bouncing around this org chart, another org, a search, LinkedIn, doesn't matter where I got the contacts from, I can come in here and put them all in one place to access later on at once. So you'll be able to create your own tags. You won't have any at first. I created these, I gave them these names. So whatever the use case, if you're collecting contacts for that webinar next week, or if it's just your call list for an email campaign, you can make sure you're putting everyone in one place to be able to access later on all at once and export at that point. Coming into technologies and attributes, again, we're just looking at Nike. So here on the left, you can see all of the different technology categories. If I were to click on it, I can see the individual technologies that we've identified at this company. The benefit here, if you have a partnership with a certain technology, if you play well with a certain technology, you can come in here and see if they have it. So if you are a Microsoft Gold partner, you can quickly identify if they have a particular technology and in what capacity. For us, we integrate with a lot of different tools. So for me, I can make sure that I'm not having a generic talk track about all of our integrations. I can talk specifically about the Salesforce integration, send the right white paper. So that's really the benefit there. And again, when we jump into advanced search, we'll be able to pull a list of companies that we know have certain tech installs. Here, these attributes are going to be additional pieces of information to include insurance benefits, number of locations, and additional info there. Scoops are going to be actionable intelligence. These are going to include things like personnel changes, pain points, projects, spending trends. Here, good to know if you'd been talking to Jessica and you're wondering why you're not hearing back, she's left the company. Knowing other projects they're working on, even if it's something you can't solve, just again, from a research perspective, knowing what's top of mind, being able to congratulate them on that award they won. But when we jump into advanced search, you're going to be able to set up alerts for companies and projects you can solve. What if you knew that a company had a project going on right now that you could solve? That's the low-hanging fruit. Those are the companies to reach out to first. I have access to intent signals, and over here, that news that I mentioned earlier, we do the search on the web for articles, so you don't need to. Here you can see that we include the source. We also have the publication date, and we include a couple of lines here so you can get an idea and a sense of what the article is going to be about. So again, from a research perspective, knowing what's going on with an organization before you reach out. Locations and hierarchy are going to be exactly that. So similar to that map view, but even more granular, I can come in and not just search a state, but I can do specific locations, addresses, and I can do a search of the folks located at those offices. Here at corporate hierarchy, you have insight into how a company is broken out in terms of subsidiaries, brands, divisions. So you'll be able to see that information here as well. Up at the top, I have the ability to export this account directly into an integration or to download this information to a PDF to include the org chart, scoops, technologies. Here I can tag a company, and also you have direct access to our research team. Jumping into advanced search, let's put these insights to use and build a couple of lists. We're going to build a search for contacts, companies, and scoops. Coming in here, you're met with an empty shell. All of your filters are on the left, and we do have unified search results. So it doesn't matter what filters I use. I'm going to get back the contacts that meet my criteria. I'll be able to toggle over and see the companies those people work at, and I'll be able to toggle over and see the scoops that we've published for those companies. Now, down here at the bottom, these are the same searches that we saw on my dashboard in terms of recently saved searches, with the exception of this top one. This top one I built months ago, but I favorited it. You'll see today as we build searches, I'll show you how you can favorite a search for convenience sake. If there's searches you see yourself going to over and over again, you can make it so they're always right here as soon as you jump into advanced search. Now, I definitely have more than 4 searches. I can access all my saved searches by hitting open search and going into my saved searches from there. I like to start with my companies before I dig into the contacts. So I have it lit up blue on the company so we land on those results. And I recommend as you go from filter to filter, just making sure that you open them up one at a time and then collapse them before moving on. Otherwise, you may find that you're spending a little bit of time scrolling to go from filter to filter. I'm going to start with location. Everyone typically has international access. Really, customers typically have one of 2 access scopes. They either have access to everything or they have access to everything but contacts in the EU. So you will see European countries, but you won't see contacts located in the European Union. Even if you sell globally, I do recommend having a search that's dedicated to US or US and Canada, and then maybe having a separate search dedicated to abroad, or even breaking these each out. You can have as many searches as you want, and you just want your searches to be manageable. I can search the entire US, but anything with a plus sign you can open up and get more granular if you work with specific states. You can also search by metro regions. You don't have to pick a state and a metro. You can just come straight in here. It's in alphabetical order by the state code. Just so you know, we consider a metro to be a 50-mile radius of that center city. CA stands for Canada, and you can search Canada by provinces, metro regions. You solve for international. I can open up the continents to see the countries. We do have international postal codes. So if you want to use this filter, let us know if you're searching US, Canada, or internationally. You can do as many zip codes as you wish. If you're doing US or Canada, hit enter, and you can even do a mile radius of the postal code. But what you're seeing by default are companies headquartered in the US. When I toggle over to contacts, they're not necessarily in the US. They just work for US-based companies. Whenever you select a location, whether it be states, metros, or zip codes, you do have the ability to come down here and specify HQ and contact location. Depending on your use case, maybe you don't care if the companies are headquartered in the location you selected. Maybe you just want to make sure you're seeing people there. So in this example, I'd see a company like PwC that's headquartered in the UK, but they have several US offices. Also, I can make sure that I toggle to all. In this scenario, I'm requiring not only am I seeing US-based companies, but when I toggle over to people, I want them to be in the US as well. So pretty nice that when you select a location, you have the ability, again, we look at headquarters by default, but you can come down here and tell us what you want in that location, headquarters, people, or both. Otherwise, everything company level will be in the company filter. Coming into industry, it's a pick list in alphabetical order. Anything with a plus sign you can open up and get more granular. So if there's particular industries I'm looking for, you do have that ability to open up any of these with a plus sign. If there's something in particular you're looking for, you can start to type it to see if we have it. We'll populate it here. You can select it from this drop down. If there's something you don't see in the pick list, you do have the ability to search industry keywords. You can free type here. SIC and NICS codes, this is where you'd be able to search based off of those. And this is where you can search within that company description that we saw. All of that, again, is located under the industry portion of the company filter. Coming into headcount, here I can make sure that I'm seeing companies that are a certain size in terms of employees. Now, it's a pick list, but if there's something I don't see here, I can absolutely enter my own amount, hit enter, and it'll populate up top for me. I don't need to put a ceiling unless I truly do work within a range. You can search by department employee count or revenue. Coming into financials, similar behavior, it's a pick list, but you can enter your own amount. One thing that's worth noting is if you're going to put in your own amount, you just don't want to use commas. If you're going to put a million, only use the numbers. Here's where you'd be able to search that funding information, last round, any round, within any sort of time frame, amount, type. You can even search those investors, as I mentioned earlier. So if you've been invested in, sometimes it's nice to find other organizations that have been invested in by the same company. Typically, companies in the same portfolio will take care of each other. Here, you may have additional filtering capabilities with these company attributes, Fortune Global rankings. You can even come in here if you just want to see public and private companies, for example. I didn't select any industries. So maybe I just want to ensure that I'm not seeing any education or government. Once you're happy with your list of companies, I recommend saving. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see your Save button. Here, I'm going to say that these are my US-based companies. Here's where I have the ability to favorite, so it's always one of the first searches I see. And for me, I can actually get alerted when new companies are added to this search. You are saving the criteria, not the number of results. So as soon as we add a new company or we update one to now meet this criteria, it's going to automatically populate into the search. And you'll get an email as soon as we add it or a weekly roundup so you can immediately start prospecting into that account. From here, anything I do now will be a net new report. So if I wanted to see companies that have particular technologies, I can quick type here and select, or you also have this explore button, which will just open up the different technology categories. You can search by category, vendor, or product. So do know that you have that ability as well. Otherwise, if I toggle over to contacts, notice my filters don't go anywhere. Now we're seeing the people that work for my companies, and I have it set so all of my people are located in the US as well. Coming into the contact filter, there's a couple different ways that we can search for people, and we got a sneak peek of this when we were on the Nike company profile page. I can search directly within titles for words or phrases. This is smart enough to know that if I do CIO and hit enter, I'm going to get people who have it spelled out as well. So do know that. You don't have to go back in and spell it out. This is an OR filter. What I mean by that is if I put something else in here, it's going to increase my results. And notice if it's a phrase, if I want those words right next to each other, I'm going to put them in quotes. Now I'm getting back people who have CIO or information security directly in their title. Now notice I have this executive assistant here. This also has not functionality. In fact, I can come in here and only do a not if I wanted to. But now I can say not, and notice it doesn't have to be in all caps. If it's a phrase, again, I just want to put it in quotes, and I can say not executive assistant, and you'll see Sarah will go away. You can do as many nots as you wish. Even if you're searching within titles, I do recommend using our management level filters here so you don't have to think of every variation. If it's head of, director of, supervisor, you can make sure that you're getting the management levels you're looking for. So it's great that you can search within titles, especially if your industry has some pretty niche titles, but we do recommend um, department job function as a best practice. If you ever want to remove filters, you can actually uncheck from the left side menu, or you can hit these blue X's up here to remove those filters. And coming into those department job functions, I know that I'm seeing the management levels I want. I can come in here and I can make sure I'm getting any IT executive. I can also make sure that I'm coming into IT. And if there's certain types of IT, I don't have to think of every variation of a title. At the end of the day, if they're responsible for information security, I'm going to get them back. Any of these roles responsibilities, maybe if they're responsible for cloud or storage, disaster recovery, I'll be able to do that as well. So a great way to go beyond the title and more so look at their role responsibility. Besides job titles and job functions, coming into contact info, I can make sure that I'm getting the information that I want. We're going to give you all of the data points that we have by default, but if you plan on emailing this list of contacts, you probably want to require they have an email. Now, if you do a combination of phone calls and emails, maybe you call and follow up with an email, you can require they have a direct dial as well. So you know you're bypassing the gatekeeper. You're not going to be on hold waiting to be connected. Notice by default it's set to any. So if I want to require both data points, I do want to toggle to all. Now I know all of my contacts will have a direct phone and a business email at the very least. Here, looking at accuracy score, we're going to show you the contact information that is 85% accurate and above by default. You can see my accuracy column, these letter grades. If I hover over it, you see a number, 93, 97, 97. We're 97% sure that if you were to call Benjamin, he is this role at this company. So it's a slider. You can decide which pool of information you want to pull from. Just know the higher the accuracy score, the higher our confidence is in that information being accurate. Once you're happy with your list of contacts, again, I would save this in the upper right-hand corner. Coming in here, this is going to be my CIO and info security contacts, US. And again, I can get alerted as soon as there's a new person for me to call on. So setting up those alerts. Worth pointing out, if I did make any tweaks to this information, not only would I be able to save it as a new search, but also you can replace an existing search. So if you ever make a couple tweaks and want to overwrite the work that you've done, you'll have that ability here as well. Now that this is saved, if I clear this, both searches that we've built together are right down here for me to jump into. Of course, they'll continue to shift down as I build new saved searches, and I'll always be able to access them under open search. If I favorite them, that'll be the benefit, right? They'll always be right here for me to quickly access. Clicking on that, it just picks us up where we left off and populates all my filters. Here, I like to sort by company name, hitting these arrows. And if I hit it twice, it'll actually sort them A to Z. Couple things that you can do here. I have a rather large list, but I do have the ability to export all of these directly into Excel if I wish, just by hitting the export button and selecting that. But you also have the ability now to select the page. Here you can actually vet the titles, make sure you have a good number of contacts at each company, make sure these are people that you actually want to reach out to. You have the ability to uncheck if there's anybody that you do not want to move forward with. As you go through, you can continue to select contacts. You can export just those selected directly into your system or to Excel, but you can also tag contacts. We talked about tagging earlier, so whether I got them from this search or another search or that org chart we were talking about earlier, tagging ensures that they all end up in one place. When I'm done prospecting, I have the ability to go into a tag. And here are company tags, but down here are contact tags. Anybody that I threw into that tag, regardless of where I got them from, now I can come in here and I can export these. If I export to Excel, here it is prompting me to export all 93. I would just name my list. 93 records will be 93 credits. Depending on your package, your credits may not refresh. If you're on Starter or Professional, for example, you would just reach out to your account manager when you're ready to purchase more. But if you're on Advanced or Elite, your credits do refresh. Each user gets 1,000 credits a month every month. They just refresh to a fresh allotment of 1,000 on the first of the month. These 93 records would just pull from that 1,000. Now, besides doing the whole list, when you export to Excel, you also have this limits option. You can even say that you only want to export the top 5 contacts, for example, at each company. You can tell us how to pick those top 5 based off the seniority level or contact accuracy score. When you hit export, we'll just send you an email when it's done processing, at which point you can go straight to the list from the email to download. Once you're ready for net new, you'd always be able to come into your saved search. And again, I could do that same workflow directly from here in terms of those limits and whatnot. But now I can not only search a tag, but coming into exclusions, I can exclude tags. In fact, there's a couple things I can do here. I can exclude contacts that I've already exported. I can even exclude contacts that my colleagues have exported. So not just myself, but if any of my colleagues have exported these contacts, I can make sure that we're not stepping on each other's toes. But for us, maybe I haven't exported them yet. Maybe I'm still building that call list. I can exclude tags. So now I know whenever I come into this search, I'm just seeing that new, fresh information. From here, if Michael looks like a good fit, I can go straight to his profile by clicking the hyperlink, but I can open up the view straight here from my results. I can see his contact information, where he physically sits if it's different than headquarters, any employment history or board memberships, any articles he's mentioned in, I'd be able to see from here. I have the ability to export or tag from in here, but I also have these additional tabs. So when we were looking at the company level information, not just doing my research on Michael, but here I have the ability to dig deeper into his organization as well. I want to talk about views. Every user gets 2,000 views a month. You never use a view unless you can view the information. So opening up companies, building these searches, that does not use views. You'll only use one of your views if you can actually see the contact information. I can tell that we have his direct dial and business email, but if I open it up to see the actual phone number, that will use one of my 2,000 views. I'm just going to clear this if you ever want to start from scratch. And maybe instead of looking for companies that meet certain criteria, perhaps you already have a list of companies that you want to search within. You'll be able to come into lists. Here you can see everything that I've ever done in ZoomInfo to include my tags, redemptions, what have you. But hitting upload list in the upper right-hand corner, there's a couple things that you can do here. You can import contacts if you have contacts from an email campaign. But for our use case, I talked about target accounts. Here, you're going to be able to import a list of companies. So just indicate to us what type of list you're using. Here in Upload CSV, if it was contacts, I would just want to have their first and last name separated in different columns, as well as their website. But I'm going to come into text input. Here, we're going to be able to copy and paste company names or websites. Again, if it was a contact import, I would need to have their email address, and I'd be able to copy and paste that. Here, I'm just going to grab a few companies, and I can truly copy and paste. Just want to make sure it's one company name per line. Hit next. Here you can name your list if you wish, but I definitely recommend tagging your companies. Tagging your companies is just going to make it easier to bring up, to layer on to an existing search criteria, or even exclude if you wish. So if you create one, again, you won't have any at first. You'll have to create your own tags. Just make sure that you then select it so that it's here. Here, had I done a CSV, I'd just be telling it what was in my file for it to match on, so it's easier for it to match with the appropriate companies. But for us, we copy and pasted, and we copy and pasted company name. So I'm just going to tell it that. I'm going to get an email when it's done processing, at which point I'd be able to open straight from the email, straight from here, but we tagged it. So coming into advanced search, remember that tags was a filter. Here are my company tags. Once your list is done processing, you'd be able to bring up your companies. And with unified search results, right now you're seeing all contacts that work at my accounts. You'd be able to use the same filters that we used a moment ago to find particular types of contacts. But toggling over to companies, here we can see the companies I work with. If I no longer work with one of these companies, I can open it up. I can remove the tag. And if I were to refresh this list, that company would no longer be there. Not just contacts, companies, but now toggling over to scoops, you can see all scoops that we've published for your companies as well. Here you're going to see all scoops that have been published in the last 6 months by default, but you can filter based off of scoops if there's certain types of alerts that you want to see. Now, some of our projects talk about scoops that are due to begin in the next 3 to 6 months. So I do like this time range. You know, if something that was published back in June that said that, you'd be right on time. And you can sort by published date, but typically the most recently published scoops will always be at the top. You can have as many searches as you want. So if you want to get alerted to funding, if your company's IPO, if they get acquired or acquire somebody, coming in here, getting alerted to awards they've won, relocation expansion, products they're launching. I'm going to do a pain point project search. But you can get alerted to personnel changes as well. If there's a new hire or if someone leaves the company that you've been talking to, it's time to go in that org chart, find someone new. And for those personnel changes, you can tell us what departments you care about. Now, some of that can come from the web. We're very forthcoming. If we get the information from the web, we'll have a link to the press release. But our pain points and projects, these are proprietary. You're not going to find these on the web. We send surveys and make phone calls into organizations asking about the initiatives they're working on. So you see over here where it says a mid-level source, a frontline source. You'll see some that say a high-level source. That's the management level of the person who told us the information. All of our pain points and projects have one or multiple topics. So for you, you're going to want to make sure that it's a project that you can solve. It's a pick list alphabetical order, very similar to our job functions. I can come in here and search cloud, for example. Here you can see it populates for me to select. It's under emerging tech. I can open that up to see if any of these resonate with me as well. But hitting show more, you can see it's a pick list in alphabetical order. Again, I can open up anything that makes sense and select it. Here you're seeing the date it was published, the company, the scoop itself. It's going to have at least one of the topics that I selected. Now, some of these are going to be in progress, some are going to be completed, and some are going to be upcoming. Even if it's a completed project, there still could be a product service add-on for me to tack on. But even so, you have the same ability here to search directly within the scoop itself, and you can come in here and only do a not. Now I know all the projects I see are going to be just ones that are in progress or upcoming. Here, I recommend for pain points and projects to subscribe daily. Anything else, it's totally up to you if you want daily or weekly. But here, you may not get an email every day depending on your filters. But for you to get an email with this information in your inbox, this is where you should start your day, right? The companies that we know have something going on that we can solve. Two things. I mentioned that it's not public information, so it's going to be really important when we do reach out that we don't say, I know or I saw, because their natural question will be where. And that's a rabbit hole you don't want to go down. The other thing is we do tag people in these scoops sometimes. That's not the person who told us the information. It's a suggestion based off of what the scoop's about and their role at the company. You can definitely go to their profile. You can see where they sit in the org chart, and you'll be able to leverage all of the company level information as well for a very targeted message. But we saw that you can go to a company profile page, go into the org charts and find who you want to talk to. And so two benefits here, prioritizing your outreach, and now knowing something you didn't know before, having a warmer message, sending the right white paper, asking the right questions, kind of knowing what the answer will be. The last thing I want to show is that reach out tool. You'll be able to access it from this black Z in the lower right-hand corner. You can actually come in here and this link will take you straight to the Chrome Web Store to download it. Mine says remove from Chrome because I already have it, but yours, if you haven't, will say add to Chrome and you'll be prompted to add the extension. Couple different places that you can access the extension. One being LinkedIn. Coming in here to a person I've been on recently, LinkedIn, you typically don't have direct dial phone numbers or email addresses. See this red Z? I can move it up and down if it's ever in my way. But when I click on it, I'm essentially going to see a side-by-side view of their ZoomInfo profile. So having that direct dial, that mobile phone, business email, clicking on this will use one of my views, but I could call them right now if I wanted to. So do know that you have that ability. Here, I can export directly into one of my systems. Notice you don't have the ability to export to Excel, but you do have the ability to tag. You also have direct access to our research team from here. I can see where this person physically sits. And for me, I do have an integration with Salesforce. I can see he already exists in my Salesforce as a contact. That'll take me to his contact record. Exporting him again to Salesforce wouldn't create a duplicate. It would just update that contact record. Here you can see the company level information, including if you have an integration, I can see who the Salesforce account owner is. And depending on your version of ZoomInfo, you'll have these additional tabs. So to be able to come in here and see certain types of people, I can select the boxes here, export, tag, scoops, technologies. And if I like Adam Seeley, here's his org. To be able to select these, export, tag, and clicking this arrow here will just open up to full website functionality. I can see all that same information at a grander scale. But if I don't have an integration, I could have been bouncing around LinkedIn, just throwing folks into a tag. I'm still on Adam Seeley's LinkedIn, mind you. I'd be able to come down here and pick up that tag that I'd been throwing people into as I went around LinkedIn. Now when I export, I do have the ability to export to Excel. When I collapse this back, worth pointing out that it works on lists that you build in LinkedIn as well. So Randall, John, Lindsay. Over here, you can see we've got Randall, John, Lindsay. The ability to select individuals or everyone in my view and export directly into an integration. Clicking this will just open up everyone that we have within the ZoomInfo database from that list. And again, I have the ability to export to Excel. This also works on company websites. So if you do any research on company websites, again, you see I have that red Z, but I can always click on it up here in my toolbar as well, if I don't see it at first, for it to pop out. That same information we saw at the beginning of the call, being able to see a company description, headquarters, size, revenue, industry, and having these additional pieces of information, being able to see certain departments, scoops, technologies, and here I can actually toggle between which departments I want to view. Same ability to export and tag. I hope this has been helpful for a deeper dive. I encourage you to check out the 102 on-demand recording located in ZoomInfo University. Remember, there's a lot of great resources there, including our certifications, and you do have the support team directly in the platform. Thank you so much for the time.